Okie dokie. So, we now have things under my feet. We have zombie road though. We can be serious. 45 minutes into a 2-hour stream. Alright. Let's see. Let's see what we have here. There were pockets of cold air. You're outside at night. It's called the wind. Sorry, I have an issue with things like that. It just... I mean, you can walk in an area, even at night, that's slightly more shaded and it's going to be colder than an area that's not. And you might not, you know, realize it because, again, it's dark, but you're gonna... I don't think I've ever been outside where the temperature, walking around where the temperature's been consistent the whole time. But yeah, it's like saying the night was dark. Alright, let's see. She heard a sound she'll never forget. We hear this high-pitched squeal, almost sounding like it was from a teenage girl, young woman. As we hear the sound, I feel this sharp pain on my leg. They hurried from the woods, but when she got home, she saw a sinister surprise. There were scratches on my leg. She was wearing layers and leather riding chaps. I'm sorry, were they... maybe she was on a bike or something. Got confused by... Is this a research piece? Yeah, creepypasta. Yeah. Let's see. None of her layers of clothing were torn. She assumed whatever scratched her wasn't from this world. But did she check the inside of her pants? Because, one thing I will say, like, where is it? The brush was very high. Alright. I've walked in fields before, and when, you know, the grass is kind of high, sometimes you have birds and things like that, that even if you're wearing proper attire, they can still kind of worm their way, like, onto your socks and up your pants legs and things like that, and they could scratch you very easily. So even if clothing isn't torn, it still needs to be inspected to make sure that either brush didn't get up in there, or maybe even like a bug or something. But, alright. Before I start getting too snarky, we're gonna keep reading because I don't really know much about this. She didn't know how she could get the scratches. It wasn't the first time something happened in the area. Documentary called Children of the Grave shows a paranormal team out in the night and local interviews with residents and police representatives. Alright, Robert, you have a good sleep, and I hope you have a good night at work. Let me put my coffee mug down. Now we switch to water. But, let's see. Let me write this down. There's a Children of the Grave documentary. Five on Your Side spoke with... What the fuck is... Oh. Me. Who's Five on Your Side? It's the news people who did the article. Alright. Spoke with one of the brothers, Christopher Booth, who shared footage and photos of what he called a shadow nest of children caught on camera. Booth said the still images were captured about 6 miles into the forest, and the shadow images appeared on the film after the photos were developed. I'm curious about the wording of this. It does sound like satire. So, it appeared on the film after the photos were developed. Was he using a film camera? Because you wouldn't actually know what was on the camera film until it was developed. Duh. Or is this like one of those things that he took a picture with a digital camera and then got home and noticed it? But, like, is it I didn't see it there, so this is why I'm saying this. But I don't like the... Without knowing more, I don't like this whole phrasing of, you know, the images appeared on the film after photos were developed. Because having also too, I have darkroom experience, you know, and there's just so much manipulation, especially if there's shadow figures that can be done within the darkroom. But if it was on the negative, the film negative, that's a different story. I want more information. But photo of, how do they put it? A shadow nest of children. And also too, like when you say a shadow nest of children, what the fuck do you mean by that? Like, is it just a dark shadowy area that kind of looks like figures? Because, but with the shadow nest of children, was it like a shadowy thing where it kind of looked like figures and you had some pareidolia going on, or bad Basil indeed, or were there like individual figures that could be seen? I don't like it whenever they say, like, we took a photo of something and then they don't share it, especially if it's your photo. I understand you want people to go and watch your documentary or things like that, but if you want me to be intrigued to actually go look and learn more, share that little piece of footage. And it could be lower down. We'll see. Also trying to make sure I write notes down, because I am very bad about this, about writing notes while running my mouth. You guys have no idea how often I would just record my research and forget to write stuff down and then have to rewatch my research so I could take notes. Oh well. It's one of the most haunted roads in America. You know, I actually didn't look in my Haunted America book about this one. Let's see. like so many other things, not here. I did knock everything over though. Let's see though if any of these are for it. It doesn't look like anything's in this book either. Nope. Oh well. Alright. So, nothing that we can book learn about it. I'm not cold and I don't want my hair up. Alright. Back we go. Oh, it's said to be on top of the largest, or one of the largest Native American burial grounds in the country. I heard it was a spooky place to bring your date and cuddle up real close if you were scared. Sounds about right for most places. It's a spooky place to bring your date and cuddle up real close if you're scared. It just says that I don't necessarily want to click on this because it says Limp Mansion. Can I see the whole? Let's see if I click on this. Alright. I forgot that I'm not in my one browser that has the whatchamacallit, premium. So, good thing I have my ad blocker all updated. The 7 Gates of Hell sounds interesting, but that's not why we're here, and I'm not going to get distracted. Alright, we're just going to close that because I will get distracted. Can I close this? see what Dangerous Roads has to say. That's cute. I like that, Jordan. Oh, you guys always do a good job of making me smile and laugh. Alright, so this is what this is right here. Tucked away on the eastern central portion of Missouri, the road, also known as Lawyer Ford Road, is, what would you say, 3.6 miles long because we are in America. We do not do kilometers. Running through a valley of forest oakland hills. It ends near the something river in Glencoe. It was originally built in the 1860s to provide access to the river and the railroad tracks located along it. When you decide to drive this road, remember to take a car cover so in case you have troubles and have to leave your car behind, it'll be protected. After returning with the rescue team, thanks to the car cover, your vehicle will not be damaged at all. Now, I know this comes from Dangerous Roads, but thank you, Jordan. And this comes from Dangerous Roads, but you think they would explain the car cover bit, unless it's just because of like the trees and stuff. Access to the road is closed at night. It's available for use by pedestrians and bicyclists. The trail opens 1/2 hour before sunrise and closes 1/2 hour after sunset. It was once merely gravel and dirt and was paved at some point years ago, but is now largely impassable by automobile. Nighttime visitors might be looking for spirits, but they are likely to find police who have written a lot of tickets for trespassing on the trail after hours. Yep, you gotta read the fine print every time. I know one time I actually accidentally got locked in one of my local parks because I didn't realize it closed at dusk, because we have some that close at dusk and then we have some that are done hourly, and I happened to be in one that was done by sunrise, sunset, and I did not know that, and I got locked in, and then I had to find somebody to let me out. Let's see. It's said to be one of the largest Native American burial mounds. We have Native American, Confederate rebels, packs of child ghosts, and tortured souls of men, working men killed in industrial accidents. Has a reputation as being a place where shadow figures and other non-human entities have long been reported, and it is started being referred to as Zombie Road in the early 1950s. Yeah, why would parks want to let you know the exact time that you're going to be locked in overnight by mistake? That's silly. Like, at least say, in the summertime from this date to this date it's open until this time, and then the other times of the year it's open from this time or something. It would be nice. Let's see. Started being called Zombie Road in the 1950s. I'm just going to say this, Drew, if you're watching this later on YouTube, I know you said you were going to find a video or something for me about it, and If you don't find it until after this is already all done and published, I'll add it later on. Let's see. Ooh. There's a photo. Oh. There's a lot of photos. Oh my god, you guys. We found them. Here's the ghost right here. All of them in a little train. I'm sorry, I'm a dork. Wait, now how do I close out of this? Did it just open up a new tab? It did, okay. Nope, gotta turn into dust. And then you become your own ghost. I would love one of these to say there's ghost. Ah. I'm sure y'all just saw my face seeing something and then just being like, I have a hard time with shadow people. Like this one. Because, again, if it's film, it's easy to manipulate with shadows. The technique of dodging and burning to lighten and darken areas of a photograph whenever you are in the darkroom. Photoshop has, at least once upon a time, a similar little tool that you could use. Yeah, shadow people really shouldn't be that easy to photograph. They're supposed to be very quick moving. But let's see. One photo taken on October 22nd, 2005 by Nancy at 9:50 p.m. shows an unexplainable upright human form shadow in the wooded area adjacent to our group. Further analysis by Greg, best of the Oracle Research Oracle Paranormal Research Society shows that this shadow figure compares to those from private investigation, which he did analysis on. He also stated that Nancy's photo meets all the classifications and standards of that previous analysis, and in his opinion, this shadow figure could not be recreated under the conditions as experienced on our investigations, and that it should be truly classified as supporting evidence of paranormal activity for our investigation and filed accordingly. So below left is the crop version of the photo Greg Best sent back to us. Notice the figure is almost direct center. Below is the original unedited digital. I don't really trust digital photos either. Digital photograph of this shadow person. So let's see the original. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I have seen what has been called shadow people before. And I've seen what I've called, what people call shadow people, and then what I also call, what I call light people, which is like a shadow person, but instead of being all black, it's all white, like bright light. I guarantee you, if I saw something like that, I would not have time to take a photograph. I would basically have to be taking pictures continuously along the way and, pray I caught something. But see, that's the thing. Yeah, like Polaroids, a lot harder to fake. With film, you have darkroom techniques, you have double exposure, which there was one picture I saw recently online. Was it online? No, it was in one of those like YouTube compilation videos of ghosts and everything. And they were trying to say that this photo had been taken with film and that it wasn't a double exposure, and you could tell because the ghost that was supposedly in the photo didn't line up with how the other people looked. And I was just like, have you never fucking seen double exposure? Like, it has nothing to do with what was taken and what, you know, is taken. You're taking a photo on top of a photo in the same picture, basically. Like, on the film, my brain just left me. But you know what I'm talking about. Like, you have, like, on your negative, like, your picture, and then you have your undeveloped negative, and you manage to take another picture on top of it because you haven't scrolled all the way through to advance the film to the next one. But even looking at this, let's see. Can't even, like, really zoom in that much. So this is where, yes, they're shadow cats. This is where, right here, the fucking shadow person is supposed to be. You know? Oh, that's stupid. It won't let me actually pull this one up. Or my computer's just being stupid. That's also possible. Big yawns. Yeah, I wish it would let me pull this enhanced one up more, but it's not. But, alright, here's my question. You take this picture. This is the photo you have taken. I do see 1, 2, 3, 4 what could be considered orbs on this photo without, like, really thinking, because you got this one, this one, this one, and this one. Oh, this one has a little face. But we know that's pareidolia. So, she took this photo. You get this photo. Even as an 8x10, which is not much bigger than this book right here. If I'm looking at it, I'm not going to see little shadow dude. I'll see the orbs, but me being an intelligent person and just knowing how bugs, light, dust, everything reflects, I'm not going to necessarily take into consideration too much of the orbs. These almost look like eyes, but I know they're leaves. It just keeps distracting me, so I have to say that. But I see no shadow person. On this one, being all zoomed in and enhanced, and it still won't let me click on it more. You know, it's digital. You can do pretty much whatever you want. So I'm trying to, like, line things up in my brain with where it all is on here. And then how it looks on here. So we do have our one little orby right here that you can still plainly see. These are what looks, like I said, look like eyes, but aren't. Yeah, it does. It looks like somebody colored it in or something. It's just this original image, even blown up, like, can I actually, let's see, since it's not gonna let me zoom in, like, this, I'm fucking zooming in hard. And okay, so I can't completely see through the shadow person in the same way. But it's just such a, I don't like it, because the amount you have to zoom in on this, and it's digital, it's 2005 digital at that, which they're not the worst in terms of camera images. Like, it's not like it's a 1998 one. In the case of the Yellow Man with I'm sorry. My animals are being disruptive. But, so with Pete and the Yellow Man, he took a picture in 1998. He didn't really want to showcase it because it can very easily be dismissed because the quality wasn't there. This one, they're like, oh, it's undeniably not manipulated. Well, it's digital. It can be manipulated. It's a photograph. Photographs can be manipulated easily. But also, too, I wish you could see what I'm going to... All right. Right here. Where I'm kind of circling around. I hope you guys can actually see my cursor. That's really almost the same level of darkness as the shadow person. You know, I can't really see beyond that. Even where the shadows person's head, like, I want to be able to, that's better, like layer them over each other. So, all right, shadow person's head ends before this top big leaf. Top big leaf. It's still really fucking dark up here on this picture. Like on the original unseen one or unedited one. You still can't see it all the way through. So I just... I have a harder time, again, just believing something like this. Let's see. Let me zoom back out on everything. Alright, and so we know Ghost Boy is right here. Other areas of complete darkness in this whole picture that you can't really see through at this level. We have literally, I mean, everywhere, honestly. Like, all of this is still super dark. This is super dark. We're just gonna zoom in here. Like, there could very easily be something standing behind here because you can't see it, or you can't see through it at all. You can see some trees here, but then again, really hard to see through back here and here. And I know this is supposed to be more in the foreground. Like, because this is supposed to be the feet, I'm guessing. Like, well, what we would call the feet. But we just have so many plenty areas of complete darkness. So, these are all orbs. I have the issue with orbs. Again, anybody who's ever played with a camera knows how easy it is to capture them. Actually, case in point, my dad used to have a property management company. And one of the properties that we managed, because I worked with them, was downtown Wilmington in a historic house. And it was a really cool house. It had like the old grate in the floor that was a little kind of creepy because it's where the heat used to come up, and there was like a basement crawl space, and the last person who lived there, she was constantly out digging in the yard and pulling up pieces of old bottle and stuff like that. But we actually have a really cool video clip of what looked like orbs moving around in the living room, shot through the from the front porch, big covered front porch, and it's the South, so a big historic home. We're on the front porch. It was like, I think my dad originally shot it through the window, and there was a fireplace, and I want to say there was a mirror and stuff on top of the fireplace, but it looked like an orb. And of course, me being me and my mom being my mom, we're like, ghost, this is so cool. Like, we finally caught something that, you know, we know it wasn't faked, you know, right? My dad goes back with his camera and recreates it, and just the slightest shaking of the camera while he was holding it without like the image stabilization or anything on it produced the same orb going around. And it just happened to be the way the light was hitting things and reflecting back into the camera. There was no trickery. This was in the middle of the day. And it just, we got excited over something that we were like, oh, well, we did this super mundane thing of just taking pictures and pictures and video, and we caught something. Well, all we caught was just the camera and the way light reflects playing tricks on us. So I have a really hard time with orbs. Same thing with like bugs and stuff that you see. One of the ones that always gets me with people talking about aliens is the rods that are captured on film. This flying rod through the air. What is it? It's a fucking bug. They've proven it. Like, if you actually get really high speed recordings and slow them down frame by frame, you can see that it's a bug. So things like that. Orbs, I'm always very quick to dismiss because I know how easy it is without explains the xenomorph. Yes, it's always really easy to figure out all the little things that you can just manipulate without trying to manipulate to create something. Sailor J, thank you for following me. Let's see. So actually I'm gonna close out of that tab, not break my computer too much. Let's see. Fog and mist. Many believe that it may be ectoplasmic energy. Let's see. I would like to know how cold it was when they were doing this. I mean, November 5th. I say this because, I mean, if it's cold enough, when you breathe and you got the condensation and stuff, depending on how this was shot, if I wanted to fake something like that, I'll just use this bottle right here. And I want it to look like there's a fog above me, and I know when I breathe out, it's going to create a mist. Well, I can hold the camera like this. It's still going to be high enough up that you can tell I'm not holding it down really low, but I'm holding it up higher, and I can just breathe out and I can capture something. It doesn't really look like smoke, so I wouldn't say they were, like using a cigarette or anything. But again, you can breathe out and capture something like this. And even too, if you, sorry, I don't know what this is. It's interesting. But like with this one being shot up more, again, take the, angle up, shoot. And then you have your evidence. I hate that I hate how quick I am to kind of cast aside a lot of times photos and things like that, but it's really hard for me to find ones that I really believe are unaltered. Image below is another capture by Tom on April 25th on the Zombie Road area. They've learned by talking to some locals in this area that back in the 1960s and 70s, when hunters would be in the area rabbit hunting, that there were some sightings of a possible black panther reported. Black panthers are not native to Missouri. Could these have been possible shadow people? Yeah, it does kind of look photoshopped. Yeah. I have a hard time. I know this is digital. And at this point in time, at 2006, there was definitely still the dodge and burn technique on Photoshop, because I used Photoshop quite regularly at that point in time. And for people who didn't have Photoshop, we had GIMP, and it had a similar tool. So, because I wasn't there and I didn't take it, like, I know I've said this before, probably the only evidence I'll ever fully believe. GIMP, it was a free open source Photoshop. I don't know if it's still around or not, but it was back in, like I used it, I think, up until 2011 or something like that, possibly even 2015. But unless I actually took this photo myself, I'm going to have a hard time believing it. Even if I was there, there's only a few people I would trust completely to take this photo and show it to me, and me not be like, all right, well, you fake this, you know. Just because, again, I know I can do this on a computer, especially with the software that was available at the time, because I was using it myself to not create things that look like this, but for just normal photo editing purposes. Let me try and clear out some of my tabs right fast. So my computer is not quite so loud. Leave that one open though. Oh, you won't let me click on this one? Oh, see. I like how you can't click on this one. This cover of the paranormal documentary Legacy of Shadows features a photograph that was captured by Tom Halstead in March of 2005. Note the shadow people on the top of the hill. This picture was taken when the river was above its banks in the hill area. Pictures was completely surrounded by water. No other humans were present when this is taken. It's the cover for their documentary. I wanna... It sounds so fucking fishy. Like... It is 5:30, y'all. Alright, let's see. When was this originally done? We'll go back as far as possible. Let's look at the 2009. God bless the Wayback Machine. Helps me so much with so many of my things. What was this called? Legacy of Shadows. Who did these font colors? It's just painful. No, those are what I want. This might be too early. Ah, haha. was on this one. I guess these are just orbs, but like, interesting that he's got a little malfunction right here. He does point out the photo glitch. I know I'm reading it and my brain is not comprehending the words. Let's see. New path, parallel to... Want more information about the creepy children. Let's try opening some new tabs. Let's say when. Just these were taken in June. And he's breathing to show the cold spot that he's in. We have a video clip. Let's see if it plays. Oh, it downloaded. Let's see. I apologize if all of my stuff freezes right now because I opened up something. And now it's got to think long and hard. Which I don't have time for. Just close. There we go. Alright, so... yeah, I'm hoping it does relate to the research. So I'll watch that in my own time. I really do need to be careful about clicking on things. Let's see, the mild temperature on this t-shirt and shorts weather should never be able to produce such brutal cold spots. Yeah, no AO moments yet on Twitch. Especially while researching things from God only knows when. Let's see. See, again, these are just all orbs. Interesting that this is about Zombie Road and there's not the one picture. So, let's see if it got updated more. Let's go. Actually, maybe where I was. It was, I think. Sorry, I am just right now mumbling to myself while I'm trying to make sure this is all still the same thing. It's just supposed to be the river, but there's just nothing there. So this is from October 2007, so well past the time frame for this, right? Yeah, March 2005. Yeah, darkest river ever. And it kind of makes you, what is it? My brain left. It makes you question the other ones that are, you know, the really dark spots, again, with supposed shadow figure right here of it just being dark. But there's cliff wall. All right, let's see. You supposedly caught all these little shadow kids, and you don't have a photo of it. Like, I clicked the wrong thing. Yeah. Where am I going? Right here. It's cool that you don't see the kids in the reflection, but this is just... It's okay. I'm glad you came. And I'm sorry that, yeah, I have the 10-minute timeout on new followers because there's some creepers on Twitch. But I'm glad you're here. But this just feels like it is a planned photo for the cover of their documentary. Because even too, like, if this was me, I used to like lay out ads and shit right here where it's all dark in the center. This is where I would put the title. So this one is hard for me to say that it's not just, we took this for the cover of our documentary. So that was that page. These aren't anything spooky, right? Yeah, these are just photos of the area. Let's see, page 3. My dog just woke up. I can hear him shaking. The photo below was captured by Tom of NPR on July 15th, 2006. Investigation of this area. This was his last picture taken before his camera battery drained to nothing. The unexplainable smell of sulfur gunpowder was witnessed by both Tom and Greg prior to taking this photo. The shadow, and no, there's a shadow? And this photo shares the same characteristics of the one. The other is viewable by clicking Zombie Pics 1 in the navigation. So let's see. Good. Oh, okay. Alright. So we have our original photo and then our... Sorry. This just fucking made me laugh. I want to, let's see. Nope, not that one. Not that page. Alright. Hang on. I gotta open stuff up in new tabs. So, we have this one. And then we have this one. It's just... The way the shadow appears right here, it makes me laugh. because it feels like a child placed like a sticker over an area. Because it doesn't seem like it's part of the natural environment. And if there was only 2 people present while doing this, I assume there's one taking the photo. So Tom took the photo. Alright, so the smell was witnessed by another person. But there's clearly somebody, you know, right here, and then you have this person. It looks like, yeah, Shadow Link. Like, this to me does not look real. And let's see when we zoom in. Again, if I'm looking at even an 8x10 of this, what was it about this picture that made them go, let's brighten it up 1,000 times to see if we can make anything out of it? Because I'm not seeing anything. Like, I don't know if turning up my brightness on my computer is going to help any. Let's see. There's all the little things that make my screen do all of its little things. I'm trying to see. My screen's turned up pretty bright, but I'm actually going to turn... I have my screen brightness currently set at 100. And I mean, guys, I know I'm blind as fuck. But I can so vaguely make out what it is that they're looking for in this picture, that I want to know what it was that made them say, you know, we need to take a closer look at this. Because I feel like even if I had this thing, like, I would have to have it blown up giant size and literally as bright as they have it on here to view anything. And I don't know if me brightening my screen, I don't think me brightening my screen in any way affected what you guys see. But I want to know what it was. Yeah, it sticks like a stick figure. I want to know what it was about this particular image. And same thing with the other one. Same thing with this one. And let's... where do I have it pulled up at? That made them say, let me turn up the brightness 1,000 times. Now with my screen actually brighter on this one, I can see a little bit more of it. And it's like, okay, well, now I can see a little bit more of what could have caught their eye. If it was, like, maybe if I was, like, looking at this on my, 50-inch TV or something. But again, the time period we're talking about, 2005, 2006, the technology available. I mean, yeah, TVs that size were available, but they're not as crisp as they are today, so it would have been harder to see. And that's to even say if they did something like that. But looking at this one just as is, and then looking at the original of this one just as is, I'm not seeing what it was that made them say, without a lot of, like, maybe it's one of those things that they, as paranormal investigators, I hate to, like, again, I hate to fucking disparage people who do this for a living without knowing more about them, but I mean, maybe it's just their thing of every time they got photos in, they brightened them to like 400% or something like that. And that's how they notice stuff. But just looking at this image, I would not look at this and say there's anything spooky in this. Because you would have to do so much image manipulation to see something to begin with, that if I'm having to manipulate that image so much to see something, how do I know you're not manipulating the image so that I see something? So it makes it harder for me to trust it. And I mean, because 2005, 2006, let's be honest, we were all going through the ghost hunters craze at that point in time. So if you're a paranormal investigator and you want a little bit more clout or something, it could be easy to manipulate a photo like this. What are you doing, Bear? Critters being critters in the background. But now that I made my screen really, really bright, I need to put it back to something closer to normal. Let's see. I'll go with that. But yeah, I have just a hard time looking at this and saying to myself, oh yeah, we should have turned this up for the brightness. I would like to know what the conversation was that led to them deciding, like, was it because the camera battery was immediately drained? Well, I won't even say immediately, it just said it was drained to nothing afterwards. So how long was it afterwards? Even with the battery drain idea itself, did you take the photo and the battery drain? Clearly there was a flash used in this photograph. Did you have a kind of camera that the flash was separate? Was it part of the camera? Did it run on its own battery? Did the flash possibly drain the battery? How long had you been using the camera? If you say that your camera was fully charged prior to this, how many photographs did you take before that? How many of those used the flash? I have a lot of just general questions about that. With the smell of sulfur in the area, was it centralized to, like, could you smell it right here but not right here kind of thing? Like, was it a very centralized location, or did the whole area smell of sulfur? There is a river in the area. I talked about puff mud in the Gray Man. I live on a riverbank. Let me tell you, low tide stinks. This was in July. Temperatures are going to be warmer. Low tide smells even worse because you have all of that decay smell. And it happens not just where I have the brackish water because it's mixed with the ocean and the fresh water of the river. It's going to happen pretty much anywhere where you have water. So, it is gross. But it's like, you know when you're walking around Walmart and you pass through that cloud of BO somebody left? And I always hate when that happens because I literally just got like a scent memory from it. But was it like that where you walk through a cloud of, oh dear God, what the fuck did I just smell? Or was it a whole encompassing area? Because if it was a whole encompassing area, maybe there was a dead animal near the river that could have been like affecting the smell just from the smell of decay, mixed with the smell of the river, or like there's a lot of natural things it could be without, again, I can smell it right here, but I turn my nose 2 inches and I can't smell it at all. I would like to know more about that, because it comes back to what triggered them taking this photograph and saying, I want to lighten it to the extreme because I feel there's something in this photograph. There is nothing in this photograph at face value that says to me, lighten and enhance as much as possible. Just absolutely, this is just a photograph of night for me. And again, was there a third person there? Because I see that even in this unlightened photo, you have the person in the white shirt, and then you have a little squiggle of a person in front of them, and then somebody taking the picture. And I want to say, somebody taking the picture because, again, they talk about the battery drain. So did they take the picture and the battery was drained? Was it on a tripod? And if that's the case, if you were on a tripod and you were just taking photos and you weren't doing video, like you see the videos of, oh, we put up the static camera and now we're walking by it and everything. Like every YouTuber that does that kind of stuff, of like showing off like where they're walking and everything, does that kind of thing. Not me, I'm too lazy. I just set up the camera and talk. But if they were purposely walking away from a tripoded photo, or were they a group of at least 3 people? I want more information about that, because if there was a third person, did the third person smell the sulfur? Did the third person notice anything out of place? I have a lot more questions about literally everything that led up to them saying, this photo right here is the one I want to lighten and find out more of. Did they lighten other photos from the same batch? Or was it just this one? There's more to this what they're telling us, and I hate it because I don't have all of that information, and it doesn't really seem like others were asking these questions. But I'm going to ask these questions because I want to know, if I'm going to prove that ghosts exist, then I need to know all of the circumstances that led up to there being something on this photo, because every single one of those little things is either going to add to the validity or take away from it. And I need to know all of the details. But it was a long time ago, and I imagine at almost 20 years later, they either A, won't remember, or B, don't care. Or C, would just tell me whatever story they've been telling and just stick to that. But I have questions. Alright, let's see. So we looked at all these photos. Where were we starting at? We had this one. And again, they didn't mention their little, for this one, which was one of these somewhere. I have a lot of the same photos pulled up. Let's see. Close some tabs. But these are the people who shot the one that was used as the cover image. So again, they didn't even mention it here. It makes it hard to trust what it is that they were saying, because most of their stuff is just more about orbs. Let's see. And this was all too far ahead. Alright. I clicked on something that was a photo and... So you know how I mentioned, like, you know, I've seen shadow people and then I see what I call light people? This is not even what I'm talking about with light people. When I refer to the light people, like how shadow people are very well formed and literally just look like a void of a person. It's exactly that, but bright light. So I don't even call this my light people. It does look like something from the X-Files intro. Like, yeah, it's a mansion apparition. And I just happened to click on it because it said new photo, even though it was 2006 new. So, alright, let me go back to where I was previously, so I just have that, but let's see. These are all news things. I have to come back and look at this when it's just me. Let's look at this one. Is this Merrick? It looks like, you know, America. But me and my inability to pronounce something. One day I'm going to actually have a story from start to finish that I can pronounce every single word that I end up finding any information on, and I'm going to feel so damn proud of myself. But in my defense, I also live in a place where we have a road. It is Kerr. All of us locals call it Kerr. All of the non-locals call it Carr. And if you ask people who have that as a last name, I guarantee you're going to be told both versions. Nobody knows how to pronounce it, so I give myself a bit of grace. This is the same spot, it looks like, that one picture was taken, that it was just the big black shadow in the center. So this says it is Wildwood, Missouri, not St. Louis. I'm gonna have to end up looking on the map on these. But let me write that down so that way it's easier for me to look up other information later. Alright. Let's see. Okay, it's a half-hour's drive west of St. Louis. So it would be like here if I was researching one of the small towns up the road. It would still kind of be grouped with Wilmington, even though I might be like in Burkall. Oh, that's neat. Route 66 used to run through there. See, this is also why it's fun researching. You learn like little history things like this. So apparently this area wasn't even a town until 1995. Interesting. Whoever wrote this, though, what is it? Hernandez? I like this person because they made up a word. Alright, and he even makes a good point right here. That it made me question, in my mind, I don't know if I actually said this out loud. Evil, you would know better than me because you're paying better attention than I am. But with the Native American burial grounds, I was kind of like thinking, at least to myself, well, which tribe? Um, because it just keeps saying Native Americans, and we do have a lot of tribes, you know, whether people realize it or not. But yeah, it's just Indians, Native Americans. There wasn't really a tribe linked to it, and it's like, well, when you say that it's a burial ground, was there, you know, a couple of tribes that were living in the area? Like, you would know that kind of thing just based off of the local history, I would think. I know we moved a lot of the natives from, you know, east to west over the years, but they, there should be some kind of mention as to what tribe supposedly has this burial ground, even if it's multiples. Cold spots, unexplained noises, being watched. I mean, if you're walking through the wood, Hiccup. Hiccup says hello. If you're walking through the woods at night, yeah, you might feel like you're being watched. There's critters that, like, they hang out in the trees. You have birds, you have owls, you have bats, you have rodents, you have, you know, these are just the small ones, not even talking about larger ones where, you know, supposedly there was the report of black panthers in the area. Even if it wasn't black panthers per se, but just another large animal, they're gonna be, you know, possibly keeping track of what you're doing if you are near their area at all. Um, Especially if you aren't like your typical hiker, but you're just going out to explore. Again, we talked about cold spots. You're outside. Unexplainable noises along the road. Man, when I was actually looking up Pluckley, one of the things that they mentioned was the Screaming Woods, with both that and what was it? There was a ghost of a man who was buried at the brickworks by, I think, Clay or something like that, where screams are supposedly heard. It wasn't the Screaming Woods. It was just the man with the clay in the brickworks. But they said that it sounded like, well, I mean, they call them vixen, which they're just little red foxes. And if you've ever heard a fox, oh my gosh, they can have some of the creepiest sounding screams. You know, coyotes have their own little sounds that can sound like children. Like, we have coyotes locally, and if you've ever heard them, if you hear them in a neighborhood, you're going to think it's kids playing. If you hear them out in the middle of the woods, you're going to be like, the fuck is that sound? And what is it? So unexplained noises, at night, I'm going to relate to animals that you don't normally hear during the day. It could be more, but it may not. Let's see. There's a mysterious old woman who yells at passersby only to vanish when they go investigate. That's interesting. Speaking of phantom sounds, I just heard my neighbor sneeze. That's how thin my walls are. So maybe they're just in an apartment with really thin walls walking around outside. But interesting that there is a, again, mysterious old woman who yells at people. Let's write that down. Maybe we can find something about her. And again, Drew, if you're watching this at later playback and you find your video, I would love to see it. I promise I'm not going to rip it apart because it comes from you and I trust you. Yes. But vanishes when they investigate. Legend has it that if anyone's unfortunate enough to find themselves there at night, it's bound to be chased and probably murdered by spectral American Indians, undead Confederate. This is just a copy and paste of the last one. How did we miss this? Is this how this got Zombie Road? There is a giant serial killer zombie. Alright. This just got good. Let's see. Giant serial killer zombie. Because if we have real life zombies and we can prove it, we're all going to be millionaires. Supposedly back in the 1950s, Zombie Road was a local hotspot for teens to make out. Around that same time, a crazed man from a nearby mental hospital escaped and disappeared somewhere along the road, leaving his bloody clothes along the side of the road. He set up residence in a worn-down shack, sometimes sneaking out at night to go murder teenagers. He lived out the rest of his days, happily holding up in the shack and engaging in his murder hobby, only to die an old man and then continue haunting the area as a giant serial killer zombie. But wouldn't that technically make him a ghost if he was still killing after? Or did he die and come back to life? Because, I mean, the whole point of a zombie is it's a reanimated corpse. There's another version of the same tale that says zombie worked at an orphanage run by sadists and that inexplicably there was a nearby cemetery specifically for murdered children. Alright. Something big and hand wavy, and there you have it, Zombie Road. So we have a 1950s serial killer who was an escaped mental patient. Right? Yep. And so did he just kill people naked? Because it says he left his bloody clothes on the side of the road. Like, did he ever go and get more? Or did he just live as free as possible? Let's see. Kill teenagers. Died and continued his killing spree after death. But if they're 1950s, yeah, I know, right? What the fuck? This is such a like just Hookman, Bunnyman kind of story. But 1950s, there would be some kind of, I feel like, news report. And I am running out of time. I've only got a little bit of time that I'm still alone today to do this. But 1950s, this road existed prior to that. Does it have a name of the road? Prior? But 1950, there should be some kind of news article that I will hopefully be able to dig up to find out more information on this, because even if they were just disappearing teens, there should be something in a local paper, whether it's, you know, citywide paper or like a state paper, that mentions teens disappearing. So oh, I'm sorry, I have to sign up for this. You can't offer me a free audiobook and emails about spooky shit and me not immediately sign up. Alright. I feel like I've gotten... So this is also known as Rock Hollow Trail, and what is this? Lawyer Ford. I feel like the name of this road, y'all are gonna laugh at me. I'm Southern as fuck, right? This is how I would pronounce the other word for attorney. Because I have a slight drawl, in case y'all haven't noticed. So for me, that's just lawyer. Alright, this road was created back in the 1800s as an access road for the river, and in ancient times, way back in 2010, it was freshly paved and renamed Rock Hollow Trail and is now a bike path. Legend has it that it's hard to find, but it is on Google Maps. It's right off of a place called Al Foster Memorial Trail, where you can head for free parking, public restrooms, picnic tables, pavilions, and maps of the hiking trails in the area. This is the one that I clicked on earlier that I made the joke about the ghost. Alright. So I have a question here. I dropped my pen and it hit my keyboard and it made things go wonky. So cops are on the lookout every night for trespassers and vandals. Even though there's we haven't seen anything thus far, because we've looked at 4 websites of cops seeing ghosts. But it does say up here, if you're there overnight, that you're gonna possibly get chased and murdered by spectrals. So if cops are there every single night, then how are they not constantly turning up missing? Do they have a deal with the ghost? Because, they're there constantly? Because I feel like if you are, a cop, and you're there every night, if there is something spooky, you're going to end up seeing something. But if there is nothing spooky, then there's nothing spooky. There's more books that I want to buy, but that's pretty much all he has on this one. Let's see. I can't remember if I'm logged into Facebook or not to be able to see this. Nope. Oh, never mind. Haha. Let's see. I'm guessing. So this story says there is a serial zombie killer who hides on the road after being hit and is killed by the train, and as an act of vengeance, he chases young lovers that are parked alongside the road. Versus the one we just read of it being an escaped mental patient. So there was somebody who, was it Della Hamilton McCullough? There was a judge in 1876 who was struck and killed by a train with the resulting injuries so gruesome that the remains were like a zombie. So we did have somebody who died, train accident victim. And what was it, 1876? And the remains were like a zombie. And then I guess I'm gonna have to play the video to get the rest. I am interested in this. I'm gonna like click on it, but I just know it's gonna fuck up my computer really bad. Oh. Let's see what this 1832 for this one. Board of Health, certificate of death. Doesn't really, like, they didn't caption it well enough though to where I know what I'm looking at. Let's see. Maybe they did caption it and I just didn't fucking read it. I will run my mouth before I fully read something, but do I ever walk it back? No, because I usually feel very validated in whatever it is I ran my mouth about. But this isn't really about Zombie Road, I don't think. I think this was just one of their locations that they were doing stuff on. Children of the Grave documentary. I would totally be down for a ghost hunting adventure that starts with food at a Mexican restaurant. Yes, please. You want to make me happy as a ghost hunter? Feed me tacos first. It's just a 4-pack. And that's the same one. Let's see what this says. Huh. This one actually has the trail being smaller than what the other one said, but that's neither here nor there. Alright, I feel like I'm gonna have to try and find this Children of the Grave documentary from 2007. Probably through some means I can't share on. But I want to watch it. It says that they have proof of shadow people and ghosts, so I want to see what their proof is. But other than that, let's see. Let's see. Proof of updating my notes. I want to know what they call their proof. Because is it, you know, an image like the one we saw? Is it something better? Let's just selling tickets. I think most of this stuff is really less about Zombie Road, even though that's the name of the Facebook page, and just more about the Paranormal Task Force pushing their stuff. They do have... Oh my god, you guys, they had a MySpace page. MySpace! Aw! That tells you how old this is. Probably gonna have to actually use the Wayback Machine on that one too. God bless the Wayback Machine, giving us the information that we need sometimes. But I'm gonna sit down and actually listen to these when it's not gonna completely ruin my streaming and everything. And also too, I'm still not quite sure what it is that I can play and then upload to YouTube and not get spanked for, so I gotta be a little bit careful what I have going on. I want to click on all of this stuff right now. I am gonna, let's see if I can do this in my own chat of sending this to you guys, if y'all wanna. But this way you guys can at least listen to these. Alright. Let's see. I need like a shareable like Google Doc or something that I can just drop in for you guys of here's all the links as we're going along. I do it for myself anyways for my sources. I go back after I'm done running my mouth and go through my history and drop everything into a Google Keep note. But I do want to have something so that way, because I know sometimes it takes me a while to get stuff out, that you guys can actually go back and look. Let's see. I'm just like quickly skimming this to see. This all just sounds so urban legend-y. Like, I feel like a lot of this sounds like season 1 of Supernatural. Alright, let's see. Some say it's called Zombie Road because the railroad workers who once worked here rise from their graves at times to roam about. Some insist they have heard old-time music, seen anomalous moving lights, and other ghostly sightings from that forgotten area. Another tales of a patient nicknamed Zombie who escaped from a mental facility, never be seen again. So did he actually kill people or not? Other tales include one of an original settler who met their demise on the railroad tracks. Another includes a pioneer who lost his wife in a poker game and then went back to his homestead and took his own life. Man, you bet away your wife. You deserve to lose her. Yeah, Fur Baby is a little bit in trouble. I can hear him licking constantly. But I think Marty's finally settled down. The last snap got him. Let's see. During the Age of Prohibition, a nearby town housed speakeasies and the summer homes of well-known gangsters. Tales of individuals who were dealt with a bad hand, such as public enemies, resulting in their permanent placement within the ground or bordering the river, never to be seen again. They sleep with the fishes. But it's all urban legend-y. Children and adults alike have taken their last living breath within the dangerous waters before being found washed upon the shores. Even during this new millennium, several children have met their demise one day within its banks. Because it's a river? Like, I don't understand, like, the Siren of the French Broad. So with that one, supposedly a river siren comes out, pulls men underwater, in an area known for rushing waters. People like to think that rivers are just very calm, peaceful, almost kind of like a pond, but they're not. They have tides, they have their flow and everything, and in some areas where different parts of like creeks and stuff like that meet up with it, is going to have a little bit of rushing. And if you get tired and you're not paying attention, another thing people don't realize, if you're really hot and you need to cool off and you go to the water, you can end up shocking your system too much, and maybe you fall in. People are dumb when it comes to water safety. I'm just going to put that out there. They're fucking stupid. Like, you got to be smart. People think, oh, well, I'm not at the beach, I don't have to worry about riptides. Well, it's not really a riptide per se. At least I don't know if that's what they call them for rivers. But you still can get swept away by a river if you're not careful. So, be smart. I just hate when people do stupid people things. Alright. Let's see. The railroad still shows death hath no mercy, as many have met their final fate along its tracks. Okay. So, tragic occurrences dating back to the 1950s. One of these occurred in the 1970s when you're stupid with water safety sometimes. I'll make sure you're smart. You ever come here, I'll make sure you don't get swept out into the ocean or up the river or anything like that. But just basically don't get really hot and then decide to go cool off in the water, because especially if you're alone, that's usually when bad things happen. But let's see. One of these instances occurred in the 1970s when two teens were struck by an oncoming train. Some of the local residents were used in search parties to find the body parts scattered among the area. Ew. During the 1990s, a mother and her 5-year-old child were crossing a bridge when an oncoming train met them. Oh my god, quit walking down train tracks too! Like, oh. Street smarts! Nobody has them. The mother's last action was pushing her 5-year-old child off the bridge. The engineer was able to stop the train and save the child. Although the mother died, this is still one of the happiest endings to a story this area will provide. Oh. Common sense really is not all that common. I mean, like, if you're walking along an active train track, there's always a good opportunity that you're gonna, have an ill demise. What was it? Mr. Ballin actually did a podcast last October, I think. And he was talking about I want to say it was the Goat Man of Poke Lick. I think that's what it's called. But it was about people who were, I can't remember their exact story. Like, this is like a legit event that happened. But basically, they ended up on active train tracks, and a train started barreling down towards them. And I can't remember if they died or not, if they got out of the way, or like had to like jump off into the water or anything. I just remember watching it and being intrigued by it because, you know, it's right up my alley for things. Animals always trying to derail my thoughts. But it was just proof that even in a situation where there could be something paranormal or even just urban legend, there's still opportunity for real life tragedy. But real life badness can happen if you're kind of stupid. I know in our area we have a lot of train tracks that they're not for people. They are for like the ports and stuff like that. But we have one that it goes across Market Street and then it like goes down through Forest Hills and everything. And I know you guys have no idea where I'm talking about, but there was like one area of the track where, you know, it went down and it splits. And it currently goes off like this. But there was a track that went back across Kerr Avenue. And if you look at it now, where Kerr goes down, you see the end of the tracks because it wasn't pulled up that long ago, probably maybe 20 years. But you still have the pieces of wood broken to stop the tracks in the event of an accident, keep the train from going, hopefully, into the road if it comes down this way. And I know at one point in time there was a homeless gentleman who he set up his camp at the end of those tracks, and nobody really thought anything of it. And then one day I'm just driving home because I lived off the road at the time, and there's actually a train that had to come down that way and stop, and the homeless man had cleared out his camp by that point in time. But if not, that train would have stopped right where he had been sleeping, you know, not too long beforehand. So even when you have tracks that aren't in use, if they are connected to tracks that are in use, they can still be used for emergency situations. So don't be stupid and don't go walking down train tracks that are still there. If you're in an area that has a pathway where tracks used to be, which we do still have those areas that line our roadways and stuff all the way up past the city limits even. Well, I mean, if there's no tracks there, you're not going to have to worry. And in this case, you know, you cross Kerr Avenue and all of those tracks are not only abandoned but completely pulled up, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. But in this case, like I said, these tracks still connected to active ones, so even though they were inactive tracks, they're not a safe place to be. But thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's see. Alright. More recent past has this area becoming a refuge for those who want privacy to practice the occult and other rituals. Go fucking figure. Where there's ghosts, you're always going to have people doing occulty things. Who can really know what true doorways to the darkness or unknown were opened here. Area became a beacon for teens looking for thrills. What else is new? In the 1970s, a group of teens engaged in a practice called huffing while using a can of cooking spray to huff. One of the boys fell unconscious and took his last living breath. Spooky. Don't huff. I'm sorry. I could see how this could lend itself to spirits that are still in the area because, you know, in this case, kid died while doing a stupid. So technically, yes, this boy could haunt the area and could be one of the shadow figures or something like that. But that it's just an act of stupidity there and not anything spooky. 1960s, a couple in their late teens were caught on top of the bluffs overlooking the road below. The male somehow lost footing and during the fall caught his face on a fork of a small tree growing out of the side of the bluff. His face and scalp remained while the rest of him fell to his death upon the road below. Ew. How fast was he falling? Ew. Others have also met their demise on the high bluffs. Oh. Seen its share of suicides and murders. In the 1970s, a hunter stumbled across a car still running at the end of the road. Closer inspection revealed a hose running from the exhaust pipe to the inside of the car with the driver slumped over at the steering wheel. This just sounds like it's an area where people have done stupid things. And I put suicide right there with stupid things. Because I'm going to be very angry if I ever find out that any of y'all try to do that. Well, if any of y'all try it in the future, I'll forgive you for the past attempts. But now, back to what I was saying. It seems like an area where there have been accidents and stupid shit that has happened. I can, even see how an accident of falling off of a bluff might happen. But I just maybe they're cause of the ghost. I would like to see names associated with things like this. So again, 1970s, there was a car still running, and even here though it does say that it doesn't say that the driver died. It just says that the driver was slumped over the steering wheel. So if the hunter actually got there in time and managed to pull the man out, then he may have had, some brain damage or something, but likely to survive. It doesn't say. But again, it's something that would, maybe I might be able to find something in, whatchamacallit, like old newspapers. So I'm going to have to try and look through my old article sources where I get like some of my pocket lore and shit to see if I can find any news articles about this. But let's see. Oh. I've got about 5 minutes before I am no longer alone, so I am going to wrap up. I'm going to try and get back on Thursday. I'm very intrigued by all of this. Definitely more intrigued than I was with some of the last things that we've looked up. It was a lot of fun, and I got like a lot of other sources. I might try and find a way to put out my source links to you guys beforehand, so y'all can go ahead and look at all the videos and everything. And we'll just have like a little catch up at some point. But I've had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again. But I'm going to hop off, and you guys know I'm going to be on my phone in like 2 seconds. So this isn't even a goodbye. This is a see you in 2 seconds on my phone. We will definitely talk later. So you guys have a good one.